Hey, I'm Laura Story, and I get the privilege of sharing today's scripture with you. From Luke 2, verses 6 and 7, and while they were there, the time came for her to give birth, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. Now, if you're like me, you've probably heard this passage 1,000 times. Mary, Joseph, the baby, no room in the inn. And sometimes you may wonder, so what does this really have to do with me? I remember a few years ago, I was making phone calls to radio stations, just wishing them and their listeners a Merry Christmas. And as I called up that third number on the list, and they answered, and I said, "Hey, it's Laura Story, just calling to wish you a Merry Christmas." And immediately, as I heard the voice on the other end of the line, he said, "Well, I guess you've heard what happened here." And I looked at the sheet and realized that I was calling a station in San Bernardino, California, that just about 24 hours beforehand had endured a massive shooting in a public place, and many people had lost their lives, and their whole community was reeling, broken, grieving. And so I immediately said, "I am so very sorry for your loss." And his very next question to me was, "So, Laura, what does Christmas have to do with any of this?" It's a very legitimate question. My answer to him was, everything. Christmas has everything to do with this. Because God looked down and saw the brokenness of his creation, and his response was sending Jesus. His response was Christmas, was Emmanuel, God with us. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So I don't know where you are spiritually, emotionally, relationally, physically this Christmas. I don't know if you're hurting, or maybe this is a really sweet season for you. But what this story has to do with us is that he still is Emmanuel, God with us. And he'll be with us this Christmas as we enjoy carols and wassail around the fire with our family, or maybe if it's a harder season where you're sitting with a loved one in that ICU waiting room, hearing the bad news from a doctor. He still is Emmanuel, God with us. So my prayer for you is that you would experience him that way, as the God who is wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Prince of Peace, and Everlasting Father. I'm Laura Story, wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas.